Hello and welcome to OurMyGear.com reviews, and today we're doing something different, something new. Today we are doing one of the first revisit reviews where we take camping equipment that we reviewed in the past and we come back to it to re-review it with additional hours put into its use. I believe it's appropriate for me to start off the series with this particular tent, which is the Coleman Hooligan 2, because this was one of my first tents that I ever bought, proper tent, as well as the very first gear review I've done was this tent. And granted, it wasn't the best review in the world, and this what kind of pushed me to redo it and kind of start this new segment of revisits. So let's get to the tent. As usual, with any product that you buy, there's always good and the bad. So let's start with the good. I like to point out right away, this is one of my favorite tents. I love using this tent. It is very easy to set up. It is great when it comes to ventilation, as well as viewing stars when it's not raining, just simply by taking this tarp off. It is awesome. I've had 3 people sleep in it and 2 large dogs without any problem. And keep in mind, this is only a 2-person tent. However, I would only recommend this tent for car camping. If you are going for a weekend and you need some simple shelter, something easy to set up, this is perfect. It takes about 5 to 6 minutes to set it up with 2 people, or maybe 10 minutes if you're by yourself, if you're taking time, if you're not rushing. The one pole system is perfect. All you have to do is just stake down the base, put the pole through it, and voila. And then just attach the tarp if it's breezy or it's rainy, and there you have it. However, the full name of this tent is Coleman Hooligan 2 backpacking tent. Now, I would not recommend this tent for backpacking. To start off, this tent packed in weighs 6 pounds, and I believe this is way too heavy for a backpacking tent, even for 2 people, even if you separate it evenly. One person hikes with, let's say, the base and poles, and the second person hikes with the stakes and a tarp. That's still separating 3 pounds and 3 pounds, and it is still heavy for a backpacking tent for 2 people to carry 3 pounds of this thing. I've done the hikes with it before, and it's very bulky, so it takes up a lot of room in your backpack if you like to put your tent closer to your back, inside your backpack. It is also very hard to attach it to outside of the backpack because it's so fat, and have it properly attached and not bouncing while you're hiking, it's a little bit difficult. Another option would be for you to just in a way redistribute it in your bag, having a tarp here and your base here and poles on the side and sticks on the side. You could do that, but I feel like the more you keep this tent outside of its protective case, the more wear and tear could get, especially when it comes to the tarp and the base, because there's more risk of puncturing some holes and wearing out the fabric, which is very much needed when you're stuck in a downpour. It looks like I've gone off track a little bit here. Instead of doing the goods and then the bads, I've mixed both of them in. So let's continue with the good. As I mentioned before, this tent is perfect if you want to enjoy more the campsite and last time setting the camp up. It is very easy. As I mentioned before, you just put the stakes in and then you pull the pole through, just one pole, which is great. You could do it by yourself. However, you might need to use a little force to push the pole through and attach it to the loop. It takes a little practice, but it shouldn't be a problem. Attaching the tarp is very easy, 1, 2, 3, done. As I mentioned before, the ventilation is perfect, and as you can see right behind me, this is a door, and you could open this up and also have just this huge door, and you can see behind me is a window as well, and behind the window is a lake. So it is, ventilation wise, you will not wake up in a tent that is absorbing your sweat, and you won't be wet from that. In terms of wind protection and rain protection, I've been using this tent for the past 4 or 5 years. I had to reseal it once, and it worked. I have yet to wake up in a puddle. I have yet to wake up feeling the winds coming in and just feeling the breeze. It is excellent when it comes to water resistance and wind resistance, at least this particular tent. You know how it is when it comes to some people buy a tent and say this is the worst thing ever, you know, it leaked, it let wind in, and so forth, so on. Other people say the exact opposite. It happens with every type of gear, so you might end up as lucky in getting something faulty. And honestly speaking, Coleman is excellent about these things. I have another Coleman tent, which is the Sunset Dune 4-person tent. You could check out a review. I'll put up a link. And one of the poles snapped. All I have to do is just call them up, tell them, hey, one of the poles snapped for this tent. Can you please, let me buy a new one? And they sent me one for free. The whole kit, the repair kit. They sent me new poles with new rope, with the tools, how to properly do it, and instructions for free. They just ask for my address, nothing else. So their customer service is excellent. So if you do end up with a tent that you think it might be faulty, just give them a call. We'll work with you. I've said that I have 3 people and 2 dogs sleeping in this tent, and that is correct. This is supposed to be a 2-person tent. However, this tent by dimensions is 8 feet by 6 feet. And I have a feeling, and it's just a hunch, that might be a reason why it weighs 6 pounds. You could fit a queen size mattress in it. However, the standard ones, if you have one of those high up mattresses, it will not fit in this tent. I have one of those mattresses and I was not able to fit in this tent. Even if I have it deflated and inflated inside the tent, as some people do. Other people just don't have the wire to the pump and connect to the car is not long enough. They do it outside and put it in through the door. It did not fit. So please keep that in mind if you do decide to buy this tent for car camping and you thinking of buying a new mattress. You can only buy the standard low ones. Queen size would be the maximum. And speaking of mattresses, you could take the regular queen size mattress, inflate it outside of the tent, open this beautiful giant door and able to squeeze it through the door. You might, however, need help with the second person of guiding it on the inside of the tent, but it is possible with barely any stress. The quality of the tent is decent for the price. Keep in mind, it was originally sold for $60. I am not sure, it might be a lot cheaper now. It's been a few years. And you could feel the roughness of the rain cover. You could feel the roughness of the tarp of the base. You could feel the bug netting is not as smooth as opposed to, let's say, a $300 tent. You could feel these differences. However, for the price, it is excellent. But Coleman calls this the backpacking tent, and here's the problem. The roughness, the thickness of the material on both the rain cover and the base and the bug netting, it all adds weight. And the poles themselves are very thick because it is one pole system and it has to support an entire tent, especially when it's windy. They are thick and heavy. Adding all that together, even the case, even this specific case right here, it's heavy duty. It's not lightweight sack. So combining all that together, I am not surprised that it is 6 pounds, but I am surprised that Coleman called this a backpacking tent, which it clearly is not something I think any backpacker would recommend you to get for that. The weight and bulkiness is one of those negative things about this particular tent. It's not as bad when you're car camping, but it is pretty atrocious when it comes to backpacking. Another negative thing that I don't like about this tent, when it's raining, you cannot have a window opened without having rain coming. That means you have to close your window and your door. And that means if it's raining and it's humid and in the middle of the night, you have no fresh air coming in, you can't breathe, you're sweating, and that's when the condensation builds up and it gets very moist. It feels like a sauna in this tent. I personally think it's a very attractive tent, but only from this side where the door is. If you walk around where the window is, and especially when you have the window open, it all looks kind of saggy and sad and ugly. So it's a weird combination because usually tents either are very pretty or very ugly. This one is kind of the best, quote unquote, of both worlds. And again, this is my personal taste. You might view it differently. It's my review after all. Overall, I would highly recommend this tent if you're looking for something that is inexpensive, good quality, sturdy, and has amazing airflow. Then this tent is for you. However, if you only use this tent for car camping, Thanks for checking out OurMyGear.com reviews. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments about this tent or any other products that I review. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and have an awesome day. Keep camping.